Welcome everybody back to another episode of the Cyber Queens. Our special guest today is very near and dear to my heart. I'm not biased at all. It is my sister Camille. I'm so excited. I don't think they're ready. Like when you hang out with both of us at the same time, it gets a little interesting. Anyway, Camille is here to talk to us today about her job as a business intelligence engineer. So Camille technically works in tech. She doesn't actually work in a cyber function, but she does work in tech in a technical field. And she's also here to tell us about a very interesting journey she's had last year, getting hired 3 separate times in tech. As we all know, the landscape's a little scary. So Camille's here to share her inspiration and her tips with us. Camille, take it away, ma'am.
Yeah, hey, I'm Camille Vernon. I'm a business intelligence engineer. I've been working in BI for 5 or 6 years now. My tech journey didn't start in BI, but yeah, it's what I love doing. So I'm passionate about.
So what is a BI? What does business intelligence even mean? Like, what is it and how does it fit into the org?
Yeah, good question. Business intelligence. So kind of the most fundamental piece of business intelligence probably at any organization is reporting and giving people access to the data they need to make data-informed decisions. As we all may know, like making business decisions is extremely, they're always really extremely important decisions that any business stakeholder or leader or strategic person makes. And so if they can make that decision supported with data, that's what a business intelligence person can provide them. So if you work in reporting or data analysis, or you're giving anyone the answers they need to make an informed decisions, you're doing BI.
Excellent. What are the skills affiliated with that? How did you prepare for a role like that, or like what did you study? Or
skills, definitely a lot of SQL. You're working with a lot of different database technologies depending on where you're working. You could be doing, you can be in Postgres, Redshift. You could be doing work with Microsoft SQL. Just any SQL training is a plus. I started out in BI not having a strong background in skills specific to information technology or information systems. I would say that prior to BI, I was working more in general data analytics, and those skills did help me in taking that step towards BI. But everything I learned on the job and with my coworkers at the time. So I learned about data warehousing. I learned about, like dimensions and facts, like the Kimball method of data warehousing. I learned about building out an entire data warehouse just for analytics and reporting, what it's like to build a semantic layer between your data warehouse and your BI tool, and then getting training on specific BI tools. So it's a lot of tooling. It's a lot of query optimization. You're working with data all day long, and you're working a lot with people, which is also what I love about it. It's a good marriage between back end, behind the scenes work with data and working with people to see what they actually need and get them what they need.
Yeah. Necessary in all fields for every reason.
Yeah.
Working in tech, job security.
Working in tech does not get you out of working with people. Like, it's important to know that tech is still very much a people-oriented industry. Super interesting. Yeah, Camille, refresh me again. What did you major in college? I know you're my sister and I love you and I totally pay attention to you. But what did you major in?
So I mean, I'd say typically folks who get into data and analytics work, they might have studied information systems, or a lot of degree work now is specialized towards data analytics, which is awesome to see. I studied math and did a minor in statistics.
That's right. You're a math nerd.
Yes. And I actually switched to math from physics because I took physics as a senior in high school, and I was like, yes, I'll do that, and got into it in college, and I was like, nope, don't want to do that.
Nope. Hard out. No.
So I studied math, and truly after graduating, because there's a lot of things you could do with math. You can take it into so many different graduate degrees or fields like teaching, or there's a lot you can do with it, and I just didn't know. I did not know what I wanted to do after college. So my finding my path into like a technical field was completely unexpected.
Yeah, well, tell us about that. So Camille and I have worked at a number of places together. It's one of our favorite things to do to dress the same. We didn't plan this and freak people out. So we used to work at a BPO, an appraisal management company. So like when you need an appraisal or a BPO, they come to us and we funnel them out to real estate people and help deal with them and stuff. And Camille and I used to work on the same customer team, though not at the same time. So Camille, tell us about when you were working in more of a customer service soft skills role, right? Because you got out of college, you're like, need a job, get it.
Yeah, exactly.
How did you go about identifying and moving into tech from that customer service team? Because that was the org that kind of gave you your start, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I would say, like, first shout out to that company in general. They are they're a company that really values having people personally develop their skills and like supporting them on if they want to pursue a specific type of position or career path, and they want to afford you the opportunity to do that at their company. Just so you know, you didn't mute Maril when you were typing. So yeah, I was working in that role for a matter of months, and I had really great leadership too. Like my boss, Jane, you're awesome. Shout out to you. I interviewed just for something the next stage up, like what would be a promotion at that company, as you knew, Maril. Like I was working in vendor support, and the next stage would be the working directly with customers. It's a bigger deal to work directly with those bank clients. And truly, the person interviewed me was like, "Hey, you have this degree. Like, what are you doing?" Like just flat out asked me in the interview, and I was like, I don't know. I'm still exploring what I might want to be doing. I'm just trying to, find my path on this corporate career path. And she's like, listen, we have a data science team. We have a research and analytics team. Why don't you talk to the leader of that team and see what can happen? And so long story short, through her support, my boss's support, and then my future boss's support, I got to intern with the data and analytics team. And I think I might have been the first intern. Like they were excited because they wanted to start doing internships on that team. So I was the first one to do it, first guinea pig. And it went really well. Awesome. And I got to interview for a full-time role that they opened up, and I got it. So that's honestly, I wasn't looking for it, but I knew, as you might have remembered feeling, Maril, like not as challenged as I could have been. It can get, for those who are, have our kind of mindsets or background, it depends on who you are, but you might find that kind of work can be not as challenging. You just want something more. You want to learn again. You want to see what's out there. So it was really great to have the opportunity, but I think I was very much lucky in getting it.
Right place at the right time, I feel like. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is. And it's so great that some managers can see the potential in people, right? And like they recognize that you did have a math oriented degree, and they saw like some transferable knowledge, and like, maybe she has the capacity to learn this thing. So they kind of gave you that shot.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Always a sign of a great leader.
Yeah.
I know. You should have memorized that manager's name. She sounds awesome. I think Camille's a great example of someone who majored in her passion and kind of figured it out later.
Yes. That is a perfect, more concise way to say that. Like when someone put it to me this way once, because sometimes math majors have a hard time finding a job after school, like I did. And they said, like, the way to market yourself is like you're a problem solver. Like you have a degree in being an analytical, logical mind. And so all you need is the tool sets and to learn something and for someone to take a chance. Maybe you don't say take a chance in like an interview experience or setting, but that's exactly right. You just say, like, I think logically, I solve problems, so I'm just ready to try something.
Yeah. I feel like it's all about taking that first leap. And also, we talked about this on the last episode, always utilizing your skill sets, right? And not trying to be something you're not, because the smallest things that we think are like dumb or, oh, well, no one's going to need this, nobody's going to have a use for this, end up being like an entire job, right? So and you're put in the right spot.
Yeah. My first job in cyber was technically to attend the meetings for the other people in cyber who didn't want to attend the meetings. Like that was, I was willing to do it. Camille, I will repeat one thing you said though. You said, don't say take a chance on me. And that's exactly what I said. And kind of, I think one of the reasons I was able to get in is I was like, listen, you're going to take a chance on me. I have none of the objective things that you're looking for, but you already know that I can hack it with this department. I've been here for a minute. I understand what we're doing, why we do it. And you know that if you teach me, I will learn. So you're going to take a chance on me, but you know you're not going to regret it. And I know you're not going to regret it. That's a little bit of the tenacity I have,
That's fair. If you say take a chance on me, but you are clearly showing how tenacious you are, that's different. But I think I was thinking the way when I said that, it's coming from a place of vulnerability or uncertainty and skepticism. Like, yeah, obviously an interview experience or a setting, you want to show that you're game and you're ready and you are a quick learner and you're ready to grow and you're ready to do something different. I think, yeah, that was something too. I was nervous too. I never had a job in tech. I was interviewing for a position that I had no skills, that I hadn't had prolonged experience in a job setting. I didn't study information systems. So yeah, I felt like the company taking a chance on me and the team taking a chance on me. And I was just so lucky to have that be where my career in tech kickstarted.
Yeah. And quite a badass one too, by the way. That is not an easy field to get into in tech. So that's a pretty lucky one to have found interest in right away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. People always hear that we both work in a technical capacity and they're like, oh, do you do the same thing? I'm like, 10 out of 10, no. Like if you ask me what Camille does on a daily basis, I don't know any of the things. I could not.
There was like a period of time, I think, when you were just starting to maybe get some like formal, like starting some learning paths in cyber, and I could like hang with what you and like dad were talking about, and it quickly just went all over my head. No.
I'm very fortunate that my dad understands somewhat what I do because he's an industrial control systems SCADA engineer, which is an automation language. So he gets a lot of like cybersecurity briefings from like DHS and stuff, and like they have a guy in charge of security over there. So he can somewhat understand what I do and why I do it, but he'll ask me a lot of questions. It's fun. So Camille, I have an off the wall question.
Yeah.
So a lot of women specifically, when we get given our first chance, right? Someone takes a chance on us and is willing to bring us up and teach us. We feel this undying sense of loyalty to that org and to that manager. And it often becomes a crux between like, do we take a better opportunity and move on and we feel bad, or do we stay in a role where maybe we won't advance as quickly, but like we just feel like we can't, like we owe it to them to stay. So when you did leave that BPO management company, what was finding your first outside role like? How did that feel? How did you navigate that? Did you feel bad or not at all?
That's an excellent question, because I was with that company from when I started off in more of a service-oriented role, and then tech. It was like 5 or 6 years. So that was first, like my first experience actually changing jobs in tech. So that was a little scary. And I think for me, I was feeling a lot of loyalty, and I still like credit where credit's due with that company to do what they do for people and helping them grow their skills and try new career paths. Like I still like snaps for them. But for me, I just want to point out like the reason I switched jobs is, and this wasn't, I want to say like my manager at the time fought for what he could, for what he did for me and other coworkers. My pay was significantly under like a male peer's pay. And no, we didn't have the same job. Like he wasn't working in BI, but we both had business critical positions. Like frankly, at many organizations, if you don't have the data you need to make a decision, you don't have the reporting, then you're kind of stuck in the water. Like, but business intelligence is like at the crux, at the success of every organization. Data is at the middle. So I felt my job was just as important. I felt I'd done a lot of great work. And after a round of merit increases went through, found out I was making significantly less pay. And so at that point, it was finally like the kick in the pants I needed to be like, all right, time to look for something new. Your market value is higher than what they're paying you. And also at that point, I felt I'd reached kind of a plateauing in my learning. And that's just that wasn't like on purpose, or that wasn't like, it's just what happened. Like we got through a lot of major projects. We were humming well. We were using all the tooling we'd set up, the data warehouse we'd set up, and we were iterating. But it felt like I wasn't learning. Like my learning had kind of come to a stop. So I wasn't feeling as challenged. So I was like, okay, I want to chase more pay. I want to be exposed to a new industry, new problem set. It's time to start looking. So, I mean, I just started putting out feelers, and someone in my network was like, actually, we're hiring, and you have like specifically Amazon QuickSight experience. We want that. So I was like, great. Let me talk to you. Let me talk to your hiring manager. So yeah, interviewed for that, and I did get a pay increase, and I think got like a once in a career opportunity as far as like a data professional to build something from the ground up, because they had just started using Amazon QuickSight. I got to control like or administrate like implementation, organization of reporting, like administrate the entire tool and just build it how I would want something to be built. A lot of the times as a BI person enters a job, there's just some certain amount of technical debt you're dealing with as far as like a data model or the.
But you're inheriting something someone else set up, basically.
Yeah. But I think the only reason, like, I got that opportunity because I was moving on to a startup. So like that, this doesn't happen like for every job change that someone might have. So that was just a once in a lifetime or once in a career opportunity, and I was so happy I made that decision. But it was scary. First time I'd interviewed outside that company, so I'd been working there since I left school. So it's the first one.
Yeah, Amber, if there was anything about that I was going to say,
yeah,
what do you think?
There's a real recurring theme in all of these, right? And it's networking, like utilizing your network and finding really good leadership that's willing to take a chance, know what skill set to use you with, you know what I mean? Use your skills for. Like, I don't know. I think that's amazing and incredible. And I'm so glad you said that because it just kind of hits home. We've had most of our guests say that, right? Like, even if it's just kind of a small little sentence like, oh, and I reached out to my network. And that is huge, right? Because that one little sentence actually changed the course of the rest of your career. So I think that's key. And we need to always remember and always encourage folks to, like, don't be afraid, start reaching out to people, get your LinkedIn up to date, make sure you're taking advantage of your network in a good way.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, take advantage of your network if they like it, but no, it becomes that it really does go down to, it used to be not what you know, but who you know. But now it's who knows you. And I've said it a million times and I'll say it a million more. But like when you do reach out to your network and they go, oh, I know that if I take a chance on you and I give you this project, you'll deliver on it. It's because they know you as a person. They know what your brand is and like the type of work you deliver. They might not have ever worked with you directly, but they know that like bringing on someone with a certain passion and the skill set and the capability will immediately pay off for them. So, build that network, build it before you need it, cultivate those relationships in the comments. That's where mine and Amber's and Erica's friendship came from. Like all this happened over LinkedIn. So we can't echo it enough. But I do also love, Camille, that you recognize that sometimes in order to make significant progress, you do have to leave your org. Sometimes it's not going to be enough to continue to earn those increases where you're at. Sometimes you do have to leave. And it's okay to chase the money. Frankly, like I'm a single parent. I got in here to make some good money, work at normal hours so I could be in my kids' lives. Like it's okay to chase those promotions and recognize that your skills are worth what they're worth out there in the wild and not just what your org says they're worth. So I commend you for that.
Yes.
We do have a BI question in the comments I want to address for Mr. Reed. He says, what are some best practices you've seen between BI and Rev-Ops/sales? I feel that BI is untapped in many sales orgs. Maybe Amber, you can speak to this. What the heck is Rev-Ops? Like I've never heard of
revenue. Yeah. So like sales, basically sales. So kind of correlating the two and utilizing both of those. So I don't know if you've worked on that, Camille, or if you can speak to that.
I'd say, and I haven't worked at like so many companies. Like I'm still, I'd say maybe at the early midpoint in my career, but I haven't had as many opportunities to work with sales organizations. So it feels like that's an experience that I want to chase. Like I've worked with like internal teams. I've worked with client teams. It's kind of like the client after the sales process has already happened. So they're established clients. I've worked with marketing teams, but not with sales. And so, again, it's like observation bias, but it seems like, and I think this is what Reed, if I'm saying your name correctly, is saying, is that there's often like sales is maybe one of the last teams to get some share of the BI resources. I've also a problem that I think a lot of consulting companies are trying to, like, that's where they live, is to give data support and provide business intelligence work and resources to like marketing organizations and sales organizations. I don't know why that's a thing, but I've seen that more than once, where it's like that's maybe the last set of teams get a piece of the pie, which is
I would probably tie in though. It's so crazy. Like I love marketing is like my secret. That's like what I do. I moonlight market. No, but I love marketing, right? And I've done sales. I've done it in cybersecurity. I've done it in real estate. I've done it everywhere, right? And I think it's so important. It's funny that there's always this like disconnect between sales and marketing, because I feel like you need marketing, right? Like you can only market so much as one person, like, right? The rest of it is going to be what's there and what's a leave behind when you're not there, right? So I think marketing analytics are huge. I know, for example, on the cybersecurity side, or I guess on the sales side in tech, there's a lot of data that goes into these marketing campaigns and, lead generation and things like that. So I would definitely say it is getting better, at least, companies like, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but companies like Marketo does a great job. So shout out to them. They have a lot of business analytics behind theirs, right? And it does have to do with sales, right? Because that's really what they're generating. And I don't know. I just think it's a good key place, but maybe Erica's better fit to answer that question because she's been doing this her whole life. And so we'll try to see if she can get on next time and do a shout out for you, Reed.
Yeah. So for both of you, Camille, I'm not sure of the type of data you would provide to these teams, but maybe you can give us some examples of like types of asks managers and departments come to you with and the type of data you provide. And like, if you guys did have your ideal BI marketing sales world working together, what would those best practices be? How do you recommend that org get that intel to people to empower them? And like, how do you recommend that they leverage the intel that they're capable of getting and like vice versa?
Right.
I think maybe the ideal state that I was kind of speaking to before, that I haven't quite seen one organization that really nails it, is marketing does their thing and they get clients in, or it depends on what like space you're working in, but they do their job, they bring in the business, and what they don't maybe get to see is like the entire picture of what happens after that. So say there's like a request to see like, hey, like these, we brought these clients in, or like this marketing channel has been really successful. And then for those folks who were a part of that channel, it's like what happens after the fact. I mean, I don't know how much that really ties into or informs what they do for a living, but I think the thing I'm speaking towards here is that it's a hard challenge for many organizations to get the entire picture, like their entire funnel, like from start to end, like what's happening, because I bet whatever's happening earlier in the story or later in the story would help inform something happening on this side.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a more concrete example. So like,
yeah, like all the context around it.
Yeah. So maybe, for instance, like in sales, you'd want to understand, so say you sell a product, but then when you sell that product for a certain price, then your profit, you don't understand, like after you've done that, how that product is really performing. And if maybe that contractually that product should cost more based off how much like custom work you're doing, or like having both sides of it, like is really important. So I don't know that does that make sense to both of you?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I've never been like, I'm gonna go to the BIs and like submit a request to them to get this kind of data. Like I don't work in that world, but like I was just wondering, like, if an Amber or anyone in her sales capacity ever has or ever would or like ever talks about that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it makes sense to me, the correlation between the two.
Yeah, I will say that there are, so on the sales side specifically, a lot of organizations use Salesforce, right? But not a lot of organizations use it to its full capacity. So there's a lot of data floating out there that nobody really knows what to do with it, right? Data is only as good as the information you can obtain from it, right? So I think in that case, and maybe Salesforce does this. Hey, you know what? Feel free to call us, reach out, do a demo, because I'd love to start showing organizations how to use it better, because then it would make my job easier. Just saying. But I think it's great. I think there's a lot of data out there. So maybe that's what Reed was, kind of speaking to, is just how do we make more sense of it so that we can actually get better results, more, what's the word I'm looking for? Just more efficient processes in our sales process. So I think that would help speed things along instead of doing things so manually all the time.
And it sounds like it sounds like it has vertical application, right? It's informing the managers, like, should we be charging more? How is it taking a ton of our resources, time to maintain this, and like it's informing sales, like, I can see it go both ways. Okay, we have reached more than our 2/3 point though. We have not yet talked about some of the good stuff I wanted to get to, such as Camille has a very unique hiring journey. Not when she broke in, that was very seamless. Just this last year, with all the craziness happening out there. So Camille, will you please walk us through kind of your last year as a BI with like the various startups and orgs that you worked for? We don't need any names or anything, but like just kind of tell us like what led to like leaving one job, finding another, and like some strategies and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I was working. I was not looking for a new job, but around last spring, maybe like late winter, someone just reached out over LinkedIn, and that's credit where credit's due. With actually putting in the effort to add detail and information to my LinkedIn profile is definitely like check the box. LinkedIn helped me get this job because someone reached out to me over just LinkedIn DM, said, "Hey, I'm hiring for this job. Are you interested in learning more?" And it's the job that was that he was looking to hire for, or fill, was a director level role. And so for me at the time, I had like manager in my title, but I hadn't really had like prolonged experience being a people leader. And so that intrigued me. Like I feel like I have some pretty good natural leadership qualities that would help me be successful. But in general, I was intimidated by the position because it'd be a director of an entire analytics team. So they reached out, and at first I was like, my first gut reaction was like, that's really nice, and I feel very flattered, but I'm not qualified. But then I tried to like fight that feeling and be like, there's no harm in learning more. There is never any harm in learning more. There is never any harm in taking the phone call and just seeing,
shoot your shot.
How do I feel? Yeah. So that was an example of me just taking the shot, and it was also an example of me chasing the money because I never held a position like that before. It's obviously a different tier pay wise. And the person who recruited me, who had become my boss, I thought he was great. Like he's awesome. He's a great people leader. He's really good at mentorship. He mentored me in the interview. Like the question came up about salary, and I immediately very
undersold yourself.
Well, no, I started talking about what I was earning, or like the pay bands I was expecting based off what I was earning then. He's like, I don't care about that. Like this job like means a certain dollar amount, and I'm going to ignore what you just said, and here's what we should pay you. And I was like, okay, I like this guy a lot. You have a lot of integrity. And so I went for it. I was like, I don't necessarily feel that I have all the tools in my tool belt and experience I need to be successful, but this person has reviewed my experience and said, like, I think that you're right for this role, and I want to help like guide you through the process. And it's also an opportunity to like kind of build a team how you think it should be built, given what our current challenges are, given the products we have, the needs we have data wise at this organization. And I was like, this also feels like a once in a career opportunity to do that. Not many people get to enter a role as a leader and build a team how they want, or how they think it should be built, to staff the right skills and the right experience. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to go for it. Also last year, I moved to a different state. My partner started a graduate program. So there was just a lot of changes going through, and I was like, why not add one more thing to the change bucket? Like, let's just go for it. But just unfortunately, that just didn't work out. Like, there was some rifts that happened, and my boss was no longer with the organization after a time. So a couple of peers also left or got riffed, and it's like, okay, this job has completely changed. I have a new boss, and like the people, I didn't know anyone. I didn't know who to trust, and the asks of the organization just didn't jibe with the resourcing I was allowed to do, because at that point, if you're riffing, you're not hiring. Like, you're not hiring any roles. And I was like, I thought I was going to come into this and staff appropriately to get this work done. And now I have to make do with the resources I have. And I was expecting to get a certain amount of like mentorship and guidance from my boss. And at that point, I was just expected just to get it done. And I was like, this isn't going to work. Also, my mental health was like in the toilet with that, because it was so stressful to step into a role like that already, and then to have all these things happen internally. I was just like, okay, I think I'm done. Like,
yeah. So I remember you coming to me and being like, I don't know if I can log in today. Like, it's stressing me out just thinking about it. I don't want to see these people. I don't want to do this work.
Like, it's nothing wrong with the people. Like, I have to say, like, everyone I worked with was wonderful. It was just the culture was very not what I needed, and the position ended up being was not what I was hired for. And I was like, okay, this isn't not going to work. Like, I'm done. So I left, and that was also terrifying, because at that point we bought a house, and I had more financial responsibility. And I was just like, I need to change this because otherwise I need like, it's just not, it's just not going to work. So I left and I'm like, I'm not sworn off management positions forever, but I'd like to get back to what I enjoyed doing, what I was passionate about. And that's like helping people do their jobs. It's answering their questions. Mm-hmm. It's designing, reporting, and data visualization. Like I enjoyed that work and I want to step back into that. So that was also scary too, being out of it for a matter of months. If you don't use it, you lose it. It definitely was happening. I was like, okay, I want to step back into being a BI engineer. So I started applying, and I was really nervous, but I was like given good advice, like don't chase every single BI job, like look out for red flags because you had plenty of flags you might have ignored with this previous like interview experience. Like, so like I did a lot of learning. So while I chased the money and I didn't have the best experience, there was a lot of learning I did as far as like what I should be looking for at the job, and what I really value and what I actually want to be doing. So I interviewed. I found a position at another company. And
yet another startup, right?
Yeah. Well, the company before wasn't a startup technically, but that startup environment was still very present, which is interesting. Yeah. But started as a BI engineer at another company, and unfortunately, within a month, there was a rift just because of what happened with investors pulling out, like with the economy doing what it was. Like folks were like those investors just had a lot less capital they could invest, and so while they'd promised to fund or like they had committed to funding that company, they had to pull out, and so that company had to reduce staff significantly and kind of go down to skeletal crew. I went part-time, which was awesome for me because I still had some income. But after a month of working there, I was like, cool, it's a new job. It's going to be great. I'm going to make the most of this. I'm going to learn so much. It's going to be awesome. And then a month later, no, you're looking for a job. I'm like, crap, that's not ideal. But what was nice is it wasn't as scary the second time around because I'd been through it. And it's also wonderful that I have such a supportive partner and such a supportive family and friends and network. It's like to have that happen so soon, like really, it sucked. And I love that company too. Like the people working there are awesome and the team is great. Yeah. But I was like, nope, it's time to apply again. So
it kind of felt like a gut punch, kind of felt like the rug got pulled out from under you a bit.
Yeah, because I mean, anyone who's gone through joblessness like knows what that what kind of stress is like, and I hadn't experienced that before.
So like now that you have, I mean, if you could give advice to people out there, right, as far as, I mean, for example, what are, the qualities in an organization or even in leadership that you look for or that you admire and hope to have? Like what kind of things do you look out for now that you've been through?
I think the things I ask about in the interview setting are culture based, like obviously always come prepared to an interview with questions for anyone, even if it's something someone's already answered and you want to learn more about it. But I always ask culture questions. Like I ask folks who would be my teammates, like, what do you look for in a teammate? Because I know what I look for. I look for like someone who's really collaborative. I look for someone who's willing to share and learn and get down into the weeds with me. Someone who brings their own diverse background to the table. Like, so I started asking more about culture things. I, from the beginning, started asking from the beginning of like working with a talent acquisition person or recruiter, it's like, what is the pay range? Because I know exactly what I need. And if there's no point, I don't want to waste your time or mine. Like I ask that from the beginning now. And then I ask like hard questions. So from like a BI perspective, it's like, okay, so do you have data warehouses? Like, what kind of documentation do you have for people who are onboarding? Yeah. Do you have an onboarding process?
Yes. There it is.
It's a hard question.
Because I mean, when you go to a startup, you just have to know there's not going to be much of an onboarding process cemented. These folks haven't had time to kind of put that thing together. Like when I was in the job for a month, I started writing my own documents for whoever would come next, just in case. And luckily all that paid off because whoever does come next has that. But I ask about the things that I need that I'm going to need to feel comfortable starting a role, because I think I've learned this from my previous two experiences, is that I don't like being just tossed in the deep end. When a job description says you thrive in ambiguity, that's immediately a red flag. It's like, what do you mean by that? Like it's different if you're like, oh, Camille, I need you to tell me like help me develop some KPIs for this for this OKR or for this team that does this function. that's allowed to be ambiguous. Like, you're allowed to ask open-ended questions like that of a data professional, but it's not like your ambiguity is that you're thrown into this database. I need to answer this question. No one's going to train you on what all this data means. Good luck.
Yeah.
Like,
we need something. We don't know what it is. You got to figure it out and then figure out how to do it and then document it.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, another good question just for anybody that is listening for this that I always ask, especially nowadays, is how do you keep your team motivated? And I ask every single person I talk to, right? So every member of leadership, I say, what do you do, right? I'll ask the CEO, how do you keep the entire company afloat from it, from an emotional and mental standpoint, right? Like, how do people know that it's okay and everything's good and to keep them motivated day to day, right? So, or at least giving them a bigger purpose, and how they answer that will tell you everything that you need to know, right? A lot of times they will be super proud to talk about, like, oh yeah, we do this and we do this and we do this. We have milestones, we have programs in place, we have this, we, sit down with you every now and then to see, hey, is this still the direction you want to be going? Those are green flags. So, look out for. Red flags are like, whoa, and they have to like kind of think about it because they've, never been asked this question. So, those are things to keep an eye out for too, because that's going to be, at the end of the day, your teammates matter, but so does leadership as far as keeping you grounded when things seem uncertain and stressful.
Yeah. That'll also, depending on their answer, that'll also indicate how willing to be transparent they are with you. Like, do they give you the smoke and mirrors answer, like the marketing answer, or are they just like having a genuine conversation with you? And I love the onboarding question, Camille, because that's going to tell you immediately how much success or failure you're set up for your first 90 days on the job. Like,
I love that.
Do I have to learn through osmosis and like mind read, or are people going to mentor me and bring me along and teach me? Because I might know how to do this job over here, but doing it for your org is going to be completely different every time. So,
and depending on who you are, maybe you're fine with that thrive in ambiguity setting. Like, maybe you are that person who's like, okay, that's fine. I'm just going to be the person who asks a million questions. I'm going to bug you until you give me time on your calendar to go over something. And I'm just going to dive into everything I can get my hands on. And that's fine to be that person. And I've just discovered over the last year, that's not me. Like, I will dive in on my own and go learn something solo, but I still need to have some structure. Like, I thrive in at least there's like a baseline amount of structure I need to be successful. The other tip, just because I didn't want to miss this, you talked about like going through that experience, taking the opportunity when experiencing unemployment to just brush up on new skills or even existing skills, because I did that. It had been like 5 months since I'd actually done any development in Amazon QuickSight. And I'm like, well, I want to see what official, like, formal trainings people put out there now. Like, taking the time to do that, just so key. Like, you can keep your mind fresh, keep your skills fresh, and you can also show that you made the most out of the time you had while you were between jobs. I think it's huge.
Absolutely.
But, on the same side of that, though, don't forget to take time for yourself, because that's a very stressful thing to go through. And you need to make sure you are practicing self-care. And if you don't even know where to start with that, which I didn't, I just talked to people and asked them, like, okay, like, what do you do to relax, or what do you do to take care of yourself? Like, I'm that person who just needs ideas and someone to like give me an idea of what to do for myself, because I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna start getting pedicures. I'm gonna start taking walks every day. Like, all that had fallen off the face of the earth. Like, I just
so it's another green flag to look for if you can do those things and have a job at the same time.
I think it's so valuable to be a self-starter like we are. Like, you and I, you give us a keyword and we're like experts in that thing. Like, we just Google the crap out of it and like train ourselves up. But ChatGPT it now. But it is important to know, if you are more of a structured person, if you do need the input, if you do need the guidance, say that. Be like, don't just leave me on my own for 3 weeks and assume things are going okay. I need you to check in with me. I need you to give me the next step, the next milestone, the next bit of progress I have to hit. And that comes down to knowing yourself and how you learn and how you perform.
Yes, I needed to go through the experiences I did to realize what I actually needed. Yeah. So, yeah. Sorry, didn't interrupt you, Maril.
No, you're good. Well, bravo. Camille just got her third new job.
Yeah.
I think very happy now. I think you just went through orientation and stuff. So we hope that's going well. Would love to hear a report back, maybe in a version of a blog post from you on how it's going and the type of work you're doing and how you're enjoying your new team. We are coming up we're passing 40 minutes now, which is kind of our limit, but this is a bit of a longer episode. But I did want to say, before we do final takeaways, I do have one last crucial question. Tell the world how awesome it is to be my sister.
Very awesome. I'm not just saying that, like, I'm not blowing smoke up, but no, you inspire me because while I have go-getter pieces of my personality, you inspire me to demand more of life,
Yes.
of everything.
I'll take it.
And you're so supportive, and you're so like loyal, and everything that I'm ever terrified about, I'll just call you up, and it doesn't matter if you can't really provide any specific advice, but you're just so supportive.
I'm her hype girl.
Yes.
There you go. We all need one.
I mean, I talked to you so much throughout that whole experience. So that's how you're so close to the story, but you're wonderful. You. Yeah. I love you too. You said I got to share. Go ahead.
I was like, for those who don't know, Camille was my inspiration to try tech in cyber because, like I said, when she moved off customer team, I actually took her job. I like backfilled her. My mom was like, "We got another one if you want another one," and I needed a job. I was, I had a newborn and I was pregnant at the time, so Camille was the one that I was like, Camille made the transition. I wonder if I could do that. I wonder if I could learn a technical skill and hop over to the golden land of the techies over there. So Camille was the one who inspired me to try, and like, if you're gonna fail, at least hopefully I'll fail up. I'll figure out something that I enjoy.
Fail up.
And to this day, I still hold the highest record on that customer team because I destroyed yours.
Yeah. So metrics blown out of the freaking water.
Here we go. She's like, those were rigged.
She had the highest daily metric count, and when I started, I G-chatted her, and I was like, the day is going to come sometime soon when I'm going to obliterate her. She goes, no, it's not. I was like, yes, it is. And one day I was like, Camille. She goes, no, I want to hear from the manager. I want Jane to Slack me and tell me it happened.
Send me the metrics table.
Send me the metrics. I want to see the metrics. I'm like, dang it. Okay, this has been so fun. I have so loved this episode. Thank you, Camille, for sharing with us about the BI world and about your journey. I'm sure there's someone out there who's going to find themselves in your position or finds themselves in your previous position right now who finds inspiration in your story. We're going to do final thoughts, final advice, final takeaways, and then we're going to wrap it up. Let's go. Who wants to go first? Camille wants to go first? Go, Camille.
I mean, we kind of touched on it in the networking advice, but like to always have that. But I think maybe a scarier thing to do when entering a new job is to just talk to people, especially with if that's a harder barrier to cross with remote work too. So my advice would also be, don't be afraid to just reach out to people and talk about anything, because one, it's great to get to know your coworkers, and it's going to help with team synergy and like getting like collaboration, and that's a good thing to do. But like learning from them about what's happening at the organization, getting more context, and then you're forging a relationship there that lasts your entire career. So like, don't be afraid to talk to people and be a little sociable and be the squeaky wheel in their chat box. Like, do it.
Especially in the remote work environment. You can't just piggyback off someone's cube. Like, you have to put yourself out there.
Yeah, it's hard, but do it.
Yeah, definitely. Do you want to go next?
I can go next. My final takeaway is going to be not to be afraid to go out there and try and fail. A lot of people come to me and they're like, I want to try this LinkedIn post, or I want to try writing this thing or coding this thing, but I'm like afraid. And I'm like, go out there and do it. Go out there and suck as bad as you can. Like, write the worst blog article, the worst tool you've ever seen. And I guarantee you it's not that bad. And once you get it out of the way, then you kind of make some edits and you realize it wasn't that bad. Or you fail up. Sometimes in pursuit of one thing, you find something else that makes you happy, that aligns a little bit better. And I think the second thing to take away from Camille's story is it's okay to admit that something you tried wasn't what you want. It's okay to realign and like figure out what you actually want out of a job. But the more you try, the more you'll quantify that better. So don't be afraid to get out there and try something new, something that interests you. And if it doesn't, you can go right back to where you were before. That's okay.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. I would probably end it with just saying, the path that you're on, like you said, doesn't have to be the path that you stay on. And it's okay to change your mind. Just always look for the green flags and things. I cannot stress that enough. Like, make sure that you know your worth, that you stand your ground on that you're not afraid, because there are so many of us out here that are just afraid of everything, right? We're afraid to ask for more. We're afraid to make the change. We're afraid we're not good enough, that we don't know enough. There are so many things that you're capable of doing that not everybody is. And so it's really important to remember that. And just, I know this is I always have the cheesiest takeaway, right? But it's like, stay true to who you are, and don't change who you are for a job ever. The right job will find you, or you will find it eventually.
Yeah. Or I mean, like the longer I held off on the positions that weren't quite what I wanted, the better, like the more better things were able to fall into place. So I agree completely. All right. Well, thank you so much for sticking around with us this long. We know this has been a longer episode, but the discussion was great. I think getting a little bit of insight into another area of tech that's not necessarily cyber affiliated was awesome. Camille, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, and thank you to Camille's org for letting her be here. This has been another episode of the Cyber Queens. If you love the content, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. It's totally free and the number one way you can support us. If not, come at us in the comments because Maril's bored and needs something to do. No, I'm kidding.
And also, if you have any BI questions too, hit me up on LinkedIn.
Yes. Okay, Camille's DMs are open. If you have any questions about the BI world, you can start being a BI tomorrow. You can come from anywhere at any time and start learning. She's here to help and guide you. Thank you so much. We love you. We wish you all the success, and we'll see you next week.
Woo!
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.